industry leaders in cybersecurity.
If you're fake, people know you fake.
Describing the behavior of the most sophisticated actors in the space, it was considered to be not worth your time.
Do it because you love it.
Any computer problem was to wipe and reinstall your stuff.
Like, I got to dive into the mindset.
How beneficial this tool is, how impactful.
To get access to all this mind share.
That's the creative process, the process of trying.
Welcome to Hack Chat. My name is Marco Figueroa, and today we have a really good friend of mine. I'm happy he gave his time. I know he's so busy. Marcus Carey. I mean, what can you say? I know if you haven't heard of him, I'm telling you, go follow him at Marcus J. Carey. He's a person that has been in the cybersecurity game for a really long time, a hacker, an InfoSec thought leader. He was the founder of VThreat. He wrote an op-ed for The Hill. He's a mentor to many. His DMs are always open. And for me, most important, he is a really good guy. Welcome, Marcus Carey. Thank you, sir, for taking your time out. Give me a background on yourself. I'm giving you the floor. Go ahead.
All right, so I tell everybody, I grew up, when I was growing up, I was the poorest kid I knew. Went to the U.S. Navy, did cryptography in the Navy, got a chance to work in the intelligence community. Been doing tech really since I was 18, really, because military, you go in and, they kind of throw you to the wolves, so you got to figure out tech fast. And so, coming from a super poor background, it was a blessing, and it got me out that situation. And now I'm really trying to help as many people as I can get on this tech route and make it.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Where were you born and raised? You said you were the poorest kid you knew. Can you expand on that for me?
Yeah, I was born in a poor town called Marlin, Texas. I was actually born outside of city limits. I was born in my grandmother's house, and I was delivered by a midwife. Didn't go to the hospital until I was up some years. So I pretty much was raised in the country, outhouse, hogs, and cotton picking fields across the street. So super country. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm from there and where I am now. So
cool.
A couple of us in the industry.
We're going to go and dig deep from your childhood and growing up. But what happened, what clicked in your head to go into the Army, or was it, where did you go? Navy, you said?
The Navy, yeah.
The Navy. What made you, was it out of high school?
Well, so I was an athlete. Many people won't believe this, but I was a basketball player in high school. I believe it. I had skills. I was the man. I would have been up in the Rucker if I was in New York.
You was one or two in terms of point guard or shooting guard.
I played both. I could shoot. I was like Steph Curry before Steph Curry. I'm not kidding. So funny enough, I found some high school clippings of me in the box score, so I can prove it.
I think you need to tweet that. So what made you decide to go to the Navy? What was the motivating factor on that?
Yeah, so I mean, the reason I played basketball so hard because I wanted a scholarship so I could go to college and learn. And as far as I can remember back, I tell people I watched war games back in the day, and war games and that computer and a computer talking and interacting and controlling stuff, that blew my mind. And so I knew I always wanted to do computers. And so I took computer courses in high school and middle school and like elementary.
Ooh.
So and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to learn on computers, but I didn't get a full ride. I got a partial scholarship where they said, oh, we'll pay for your academics, we'll pay for all your classes, but we're not going to pay for any room and board. So I was like, well, I'm from a very poor background. and the only thing that I got recommended was Pell Grants.
Mm.
And so that actually is the importance of having good guidance and good. I guess my counselors weren't that good. I probably could have went to college for free, but didn't have the guidance to go that route.
Yeah,
My family didn't know anything about anything like that.
yeah. I
So,
mean, I have a very similar background. Everything you just said, I went through. And the thing was, I was lucky enough to have a full ride to JUCO, which, if anyone out there doesn't know what JUCO is, it's junior college. So I went to Rockland Community College. They didn't have any room and board. You had to figure it out. But my tuition and books and everything was paid. And like you said, if you look at me, and I don't look like an athlete, but I was. So I played baseball and I had a full ride to JUCO. And it was like, man, I wanted to go to D1, but this is what was offered. And I think for me, it was a quick path to what I thought at the time was to the major leagues, MLB, because a lot of people got drafted out of this junior college. So I went there. I was there for 2 years, tried out for a bunch of teams, and then moved over to Temple University, which I had a partial scholarship. And I was just like, you know what? I know I could figure out how to make this work. And I went over there, and it was a disaster. So, it was good at the time, but I knew I wasn't going to the MLB. So I was just like, all right, time to move on. And I found, I found my passion through figuring out what do I love. And I took the skills of practicing and knowing how to, hit and take ground balls into the life that we live in now, where I knew that, hey, reps is how you're going to get there.
You're not lying. I mean, and even in basketball, I'm 5'9" at my best, on my best day. I was a little bit athletic. I wasn't super quick, but to be 5'9", you got to be lightning quick. I wasn't lightning quick. I was pretty athletic, but I could shoot the ball. And the reason why I could shoot well is because I practice on it all the time. I practice fundamentals,
That's
arm
what
up,
it is.
follow through, all that stuff. And so I was like, I think Shaq called Tim Duncan the big fundamental. I was a little fundamental. I could shoot, and
Nice.
because I practiced, I shot every day. I shot thousands of reps every day.
And this, did you
thousands
take
of
those
shots.
same habits into cyber?
Yeah, 100%. Because like I tell people every day, people always concentrate on stuff that's kind of like, people always concentrate on topics that are hard. Like, for instance, like, you've probably seen basketball players, and you're from the Bronx, so you've seen plenty of basketball players.
Yeah.
You probably could see somebody could dunk, but they didn't have any fundamental game.
Yeah.
Or in baseball, if you throw it right up the middle, fastball, somebody can take it out the park. Or if you throw a slider or curveball, that person ain't gonna be able to hit it.
Yeah.
But it's all about fundamentals, and so that's what I'm saying. People, definitely early in my career, and today, people focus on exploitation and things of that nature. But there's so many fundamentals in cybersecurity and coding, even, that people, if you learn the fundamentals, you'll be good forever.
Yeah.
And that's my word, and that's how it works in anything you want to try in life.
I agree.
Be good at the fundamentals, and you'll make a living.
I completely agree on that statement. I mean, we met a long time ago, right? And I remember you were so insightful with your thoughts, speaking to me, having in-depth conversations with me. Can you give the Hack Chat citizens your background on how you move from the Navy into the public world, as I would say, when you transitioned out of the Navy? What was your mindset?
My mindset, leaving. I quote Jay-Z all the time on this, and when I was in the military, I knew I wanted to get out after 4 years, but I met my wife, got married, had kids, and so I needed some stability. So I got stationed at Fort Meade. When I was at Fort Meade, I went to overdrive on certifications in education in general. so what I started doing is I started studying for Cisco certs and all that stuff.
Mm.
And I did a lot of club tests. I tell people about that a lot. Uh, but Jay-Z had this great line. He said, "Put me anywhere on God's green earth, and I'll triple my worth."
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always made a conscious effort to always have ridiculous technical skills. Because at the end of the day, if you know theory and I know theory, but I can code, I'm way more valuable than you are.
Yes, sir.
Because I can code, I can put my theory into action per se.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually code something. If I'm like, cool, look at this indicator, look at this thing. All right, I can actually write a script or code or software to take action on that. Where that most people they can't, and so that's been my superpower, and I learned that early in my career.
Yeah, and for anyone that wants to listen to that quote, listen to The Blueprint. That was my favorite album of Jay-Z's. I mean, I feel like, every single album he releases has a message, but The Blueprint spoke most to me. And that's a quote from The Blueprint. So I would just...
It was The Blueprint.
Come on now. You throw a quote out there, I'm going to know exactly everything about Jigga.
Like you said, that message of the album was The Blueprint. How he came up, kitchen table, that's where I hone my skills.
Yes, sir.
That's where you hone the skills coding.
Yeah, I completely agree. Take me from, all right, so we went there, right? And take me from the time you were at Rapid7 and when did you decide to say, I'm going to leave Rapid7 and create my own company?
I think I wanted to be a inventor ever since I was watching the A-Team and watching B.A. Baracus and all them
Young
guys.
B.A.
You know how they would build little gadgets.
Yeah.
And I would watch MacGyver growing up, and then he would invent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, dude, I used to make diagrams and stuff of inventions, and I was always fascinated by the great inventors. The Michelangelos and people of that caliber, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington Carver, all those people that been inventing stuff.
Yeah. So
that a fascination for me was building stuff, and at that time I didn't know you could build stuff with software or code. So it's like now I'm living in this world where I've always been, I always wanted to be an inventor, and lo and behold, by moving towards the tech, learning how to code, I was able to invent software. And at Rapid7, back in the day, I was working with HD Moore, and I came on board to Rapid7 right after HD Moore, the Metasploit project got acquired by Rapid7.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I got to work, HD was my boss there. And so, working up close with somebody that has done it, built something up and sold it. And I saw that. And I think when you work around people, sometimes people are mystified about all these people, and working closely with people. Like before I worked with HD Moore, I worked with Johnny Long, and I worked with a lot of smart people. When I was at NSA, I worked with a lot of smart people. I've been around Marco, people, I'm around you in the early days, around my man Ron in the early days. And so people, I've never been like, so, and being around people is like, well, man, I'm dumb enough to believe that, like, man, if HD did, I can do it. So,
absolutely.
that's
Look, I always say the same thing. If Mark Zuckerberg did it, why not me? And that's the thing you should always be saying. Why not me? What's different with him? He bleeds red.
Anybody can do stuff. And,
I agree. I completely agree, and I love everything. One of the things that you don't get, I think, enough credit for is how much you help people, man. Like, I love how you sometimes tweet, my DMs are open. If you have a question, just go ahead and ask. And it's and you know, I love when you go ahead and you take those screenshots and you say, hey, I helped this dude negotiate. I helped this guy with a path in their career. What motivates you to do something like that for other people without any like expectation of a return? I love it. And it's something that I live for, right? I mean, a lot of people don't know. And I want you to answer this, but let me just put this in there so everyone knows. One thing, I was a huge Gary V fan back when everyone knew him, right? And I was shocked when I watched his thing in Austin and you were on there at the end. I mean, I'm a guy that I consume stuff, I consume books. If I see someone that is hitting, I'm going to watch their stuff. And he was hitting at the time, and he started to gain really, really big numbers at the time you were on. And my mind was
Still big.
blown.
He's still big. That dude's still big. That's my guy. So I think that man, I just think I got will, man. My willpower is I wish I could put it in a bottle and just give it to people. Cause I just will certain things. I know I'm gonna meet certain people. I know I'm gonna hang out with certain people, and it just happens. So
Yeah.
And even like some of the things that I'm doing right now, some of the things that I'm working on, it's gonna surprise people. It's because like why not? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why not? You know, god dang, if somebody else can do it, and you know, why can't Marcus do it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is with your success, what I love, and I kind of said it before, is you're willing to share that information even though people don't want to hear it. For instance, I don't recall the DEF CON that we were at, but it was like in the beginning of your V Threat days, I believe. But we were at DEF CON and I was walking and you called my name and you had an army bucket on. I didn't even know who it was. And I looked twice and I was like, authentic. That's what I said in my head. So authentic, so gully. And for me, I just felt always a sense of connection, even going back to when we first met and we were having conversations in the back of the hackerspace, right? I remember this time that we were having a conversation and you like literally drove in the back entrance, right? Usually where nobody goes. And we were just having a conversation about growth. And that is what I remember about Maryland, you know, linking up with you when you were over there. And the growth from when I first met you to now, you know, when they talk about exponential growth, that is you. That is you. And I believe in giving people flowers, you know, when they're here and in front of them and in front of a audience. And, you know, there's so much you do that people just don't see. And it comes from a good place. There's no pat me on the back, I'm doing this for a reason to elevate myself. It comes from pure love. Where does that come from?
Well, I mean, like, bro, like, you know, growing up, you know, in the situation that you know, I wish there was somebody in the organization. You know, I wish there was something to help me when I was growing up. There, you know, I mean, you know, obviously I was a smart kid, and you know, luckily I went to the military. But I was like, man, there should have been a better way to identify smart kids or people that have potential, and give them an opportunity. And so, luckily enough, I'm blessed that I can give people opportunities, and some people have trusted me to give other people opportunities, and just by knowing what I know, I can teach, and you know, that's one of the things that I've done recently is I did free training online. I'm probably gonna do some. I'm probably gonna start doing some coding related stuff. Probably gonna teach people how to code. I'm thinking about teaching people how to code in Golang or do some React, like hot stuff. Like this is hot and you ain't gonna get it. Where you gonna get it? Well, I'm gonna give it to you. So
Free 99, baby.
yeah, that's it. So but the reason why I do it is because I really want to encourage other people to do it. It's not really about me because I mean the truth is I don't really have to like I'm not impressed by a lot of stuff and all. I'm not impressed by a lot of stuff, and I don't expect people to be impressed by me either.
Yeah.
So I'm not flexing. What the deal is, I want to help people out because I didn't have the opportunity, and I know that there's so many more people out there like me, like you, and like because I seen you come over from the bottom, but you weren't shiny like you was now. You said we was both extra hood.
I agree.
Yeah, your brothers.
Yeah, man. I tell you right now, I think, shout out to Ryan, and Ryan, the guy who makes badges, right? We were working at McAfee, and I think he gave me one of my best lessons ever. And this is for the people that aren't where they need to be. When he was leaving a company I was working with him in, and Ryan Clark, aka Lost Boy, he was leaving. He was like, Marco, I love you. You're the one who brought me in here, but I got some advice from you. You're like one of the smartest cats I know, but verbally, you still are in the Bronx. You're hood. You need to upgrade that. And this is coming from a good place. Like, I love you, bro. Like my brother. I literally came out in his wedding. So I know it was coming from a good place. And he told me, he was like, you need to work on it. Like, you got to interpret, think and then talk, because when it goes off the dome, you're back in the Bronx. And it's hard to translate what you're saying. And it was such good advice. It allowed me, I knew when I was having this conversation, it was coming from a good place. So it wasn't malicious. He was giving me love. And I had to think and say, you know what? I need to switch it up. I need to learn, think before verbally distributing what's coming out my mouth so people can interpret. And sometimes I still fumble up a little bit, but I get a which means to recalibrate, get my thoughts in order to deliver what I need to say. And it's different, right? I could call up my friends where I live at and have a conversation, and they you're not speaking correctly. We need you to translate back to us, so we could understand, because you're speaking so different now.
What's funny? I kind of compare it to I think you have to be aware of where you are. It's situational awareness where you are, and also I think that it's like a sync sometimes. Any kind of communication sync. You have what kind of protocol are we on?
Yeah.
Are we on boardroom protocol? Are we on investor protocol? Are we on Are we on street protocol?
I think
so. You gotta understand and calibrate.
It's funny because going back to Gary Vee, he said specifically, "I can adapt. I know how to adapt. I'm not being fake. I'm adapting to the current situation. I'm still being me, but I'm adapting to when I go into a studio with rappers from the hood, how to adapt to that situation. And then I go to the corporate, meetings with Pepsi and Budweiser, and I know how to adapt there. And that is what kind of I needed. And that was the click that he gave me to be like, you need to learn how to adapt to the situation and really understand and grasp what's going on at that time. And it was, I credit him with taking me to another level. How did you figure out that level? Because I needed someone to coach me. He was my coach. He was leaving. And he was like, I need to sit you down for half an hour and let you know. So what was your switch?
This is gonna trip you out because it's kind of like opposite of what you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
So more times than not, I would say most of the time I'm hood on purpose. I can't lie, and it's a weird thing. In the military, somebody did tell me when I was young, because I talked super country back then.
You did have that country twang.
Yeah, like fixing to and doing and saying stuff like that.
You were the first person, by the way, that I heard use finnin.
Yeah, finna, fixing all that. So basically, I was that was me. So when I was young, I was told that you can't speak like that in the military. Like my shift leader was like, you gotta quit talking all country like that. And I was like, all right. And then one of my boys, I said, this is the funniest thing ever. And hopefully you get a laugh out of it. So I keep it $150 all the time.
No ways.
I told my boy, I said, hey, this dude talking about my language. He says, he said, well, tell him that you don't even know your first language because it was taken from you.
Wait, I have a when was that? How old were you?
I was like 19.
So when I was in the teens, they had this thing called Ebonics.
Yeah,
and you hooked on phonics, and then you were talking Ebonics, right?
Yeah, that's kind of like totally taboo now. That whole Ebonics thing, that's kind of like it was a trip. But I tell you though, Marco, like right now, like I'm intentionally hood as much as possible, unless I have to recount.
Is that strategic?
Huh?
Is that strategic?
Oh yeah, totally, 100%. Because I see a problem where people are trying to come up, and they're intimidated, and by a term that they call code switching. A lot of Black kids, a lot of Latino kids that are from the inner city, they're like, why do I have to change the way I talk? And so part of me is like, well, cool. I'm like fighting that thing where like I'm gonna keep it real hood all the time. I'm gonna quote Jay-Z, Biggie, Nas. I'm just gonna keep it. I want to keep it at that level because what matters is to me not how if I communicate in a different vernacular. So say if I heard a Latino speaking and a Latino has a Spanish accent, I'm not gonna hate on them. So I'm not gonna say you need to lose your accent, right? If you're Hispanic, or if I'm working with an Indian colleague and he has a Hindi twang, I'm not gonna hate on you. So I'm like, if I'm hood as a mug, and I don't want nobody telling me no different. So so what I noticed and what I got off of Ryan Clark, love you. It was like enunciation, right? Like that's what I have to work on. That is the positive that I came out of that conversation about, right? So it was, the thing is, you're on a conference call, and I was lucky enough to get an opportunity at McAfee, get an opportunity at Intel, and then you're working with these cats that are from your Harvards, your MITs, and all that. So if you're not enunciating with the yeah, so and that's what I'm saying. You have to know the situation. Like if I'm talking technical, I'm going to be enunciating the heck out of it. If I'm talking about software, I'm going to be talking like very specific software language, right? I'm not going to be mixing hood up stuff.
I agree. I agree.
But if I'm talking, I'm going to be talking.
It's a switch that needs to be turned on, and then you have to learn how to turn it on and off, right?
Yeah.
And
here's the deal. So
go for it.
Here's the deal. Here's the big deal. And this is important for hackers and communications and InfoSec and all that stuff. is the just the point people can recognize if you're real or fake.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a
I agree.
CISO and you're talking all this stuff about secure this, secure that, but everybody thinks it's total BS, you're not fooling nobody. It don't matter if you have the best diction on earth, whether you went to Harvard or Yale or Princeton, MBA, whatever you want to do, Ivory Tower, this and that. If you're fake, people know you fake.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I find sometimes is like some people aren't being themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had that from you. And funny enough, I always thought you talked very, very to me because I'm from the South, you from New York. I always thought you sounded proper as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Let me ask you a question. You were in Mach 37, which is a startup accelerator.
That's right.
How was that for you? And especially what we've just talked about, how was that transition into there, right? Where you need to be proper because you're going through this accelerator and you have your day to present your product to investors.
Yeah, so the big thing about investors and people in life in general,
Mm-hmm.
they say a lot of people emphasize first impressions, and first impressions are important, right? But I think
agree.
in reality in life, you can meet some people and you just don't like them the first time,
I agree.
right? But then once you see their work ethic and their bulldog mentality, you're like, oh snap, this dude a real one.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my life in general, people might think I'm crazy at first, but I'm very persistent. I'm a persistent son of a gun.
I agree.
And so, and then they're like, oh snap, this dude is he wild, but he's persistent and he's well intentioned and all that stuff. And so what's crazy about that, even Mach 37, there were 7 companies that went through the company.
Mm-hmm.
4 of the 7 cohort, the other CEOs of the companies invested in my company.
Wow.
So my cohort invested, and the CEOs of other companies in my cohort invested in my company. And why? Because even in that situation, I'm being super helpful for them. I helped one of the dudes in the cohort get like 2 or 3 patents, and I'm an advisor to him to this day. And so my mentality is the same mentality all the time, whether it be I'm being super helpful. If it's an investor, I'm actually giving my investors introductions to other investors, to other LPs, and to other. So basically, every relationship that you try to build, you should try to build a symbiotic relationship where it actually helps you as well. And basically, I mean, it's going to help you because you're going to get something out of it, but you're also helping the other person as well. So symbiotic means that we're both going to benefit from a relationship. And when we talk, we share same books and we do all that stuff. We both benefit from it. It's not a one-way situation.
You were helping people as well when you were going through Mach 37, the other companies there, you were interacting with everyone.
That's
And
right,
technically,
that's right.
they are your competition for investment. But what I found is I visited you 2 times at their office, and you were helping them, you know, with value and expecting none.
Well, that's the deal, though. I think that if we all help each other out, and there's plenty to go around, and and that's something that you hear from Gary V as well. It's like, give all the time, and then when you need something done, there's going to be some place to help you. You don't give just to get, but if you're just always doing the right thing all the time, if you need help, people are going to help you out.
Yeah,
No doubt. And people want to support whatever you do.
And for me, what I read this book, I was trying to look it up. I can't find it. I will eventually tweet it. It's in the gifs of how people judge you within 3 seconds of meeting you. And
Is it blank?
It's
not blank?
It's no, it's not. It's
Blank has content like that though.
Yeah, but it's a book. I will tweet it. I was trying to look it up. I read it, I believe, in 2014, 2015. And what he said was people would judge you visually. When they meet you, they immediately in 3 seconds have an opinion of you. Now, when they talk to you, it's up to you to change their opinion. And off of his recommendation, it's like from the waist up, you're so business. From the waist down, you're playful in terms of like approachable. And off of his recommendation, I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing that. Right. I think COVID now changed me, but I was like, when I read the book, I want to say 2014 or 15, I used to wear like white collar shirts with a blazer and red like shoes because he wore like clown shoes, and that's how he referenced it. And what I found was the reception was good. And going back to what you're saying, it's like people are going to judge you. People are going to analyze you before even having a conversation, before you could change anyone's mind. So what I came up with was, okay, I'm going to take what you said and make it mine, which is like, I am from where I am. I love, in the Bronx, we were the inventors of rap. Like we got swagger for days. They say Harlem got swagger, but it's really the BX invented rap. So I took my swag and who I am authentically and made it my own. And for me, I've ever since reading that book, it allowed me to interpret, okay, who am I? Who do I want the world to see without having a conversation? Right? Like I said, that kind of has changed during COVID, because all of the Burberry and Gucci don't mean nothing when you're spending all that money and really being authentic to yourself. And what I said was comfort with material. Like for me, I bought 30 like shirts, V-neck shirts. This is like my uniform for the last year, right? Bottoms down is like Lululemon, shorts from Nike that are sweats, So I said, okay, who I am is still who I am, but I'm going to present myself the way I am. And I still feel, even though I live in Silicon Valley and a little outside Silicon Valley, I'm still Marco and I'm still authentic to myself, where I don't have to like really change for anyone, But let me switch gears real quick, because you invited me to pitch night, right? To give me insight on what it's like. At the time, I believe that you were giving me an opportunity to meet the guys at Mach 37 so I can go ahead and do my own startup. At the time, I believe it was 2015. And how hard was it, after that night to get funding?
Well, luckily, man, I have one of the best mentors in the world when it comes to that. Shout out to my man, Michael Wellman. That dude helped me raise money so fast. It was crazy. I raised my whole raise in about 3 months because of him.
What was that? Can you even share that?
Huh?
Can you share that?
Oh yeah. That's my dude, Michael Wellman.
Wait, can you share your funding?
Oh no. So basically, my first round I did was an angel round of $600K. And so what's crazy about Mach 37 is I didn't have a place to stay when I first went out there, and people might not know this. Shout out to Marco. I slept on Marco's couch.
Shout out.
Yeah.
It's all love. It's all love. I told him. Yeah. So people don't know. I said, look, you live over here. Mach 37's in Virginia. I'm in between. You got a couch always in my house. And I'm pretty pissed at myself because my mom showed me you give your bed up to a guest. So, and you didn't want to do that. So we'll digress.
You got me into the cat coffee.
Yeah. So the rivers run deep between us, man. And that grind, that's, for me, that's what has connected us so much. It's not about the tech. It's really about the grind and the authenticity of who you are, and just the authentic love, man. Like, I see who you are. The rivers run deep between us because we have different backgrounds, but I feel like you're my brother because just who you are, you understand that grind is what connects us. I tell you that and I'm stealing the Rock's like thing, right? And he always says hardest worker in the room. And I always said the opposite. No one will outwork me. Like, you might think you could outwork me. My dude, think twice. Like, if you think you work in 10, I could pop 14 on you. You will not outwork me just because on some competition.
Hey, bro, like, what's funny, so basically, so the CEO of ReliQuest, the company I'm working with right now, he's just like that, man. He just what you just said. Nobody will outwork me. He's on that. And bro, like, we met because, like I said, real recognize real. And so
Facts.
when I met Brian, shout out to Brian Murphy. But it's like the same thing. It's like, bro, and we're like referencing books and boom, we're like, it's like, what? This is like crazy. And it's the same thing with me and you. Sometimes we don't talk for a couple of months. Sometimes maybe we haven't talked for a year. We've known each other for over 10 years. Easy. But it's funny because we still be checking out the same books 9 times out of 10.
Yes, sir.
We on the same thing, even though we're not. So when we connect again, it's like, oh, you check this out. Oh, you check this out. Like, boom, boom.
It's
So, yeah,
kindred
it's
spirits.
Great to have you.
It's kindred spirits, man. I mean, for me, I get motivated a lot with your tweets and the things that you're doing. You know what I mean? Because I know it comes from a place where I'm trying to help everyone grow, right? I for me, that's the way I feel. I'm like, I'm doing this off of love. Like, there's zero expectation here. I don't want anything from you. It's like I've been in that spot before. And it's always it's good in your heart. It's one of those, you swipe the debit from when you pass to where you're going. Like, I've done everything and I've squeezed that towel that I had, to do. I did it off of the kindness and with zero expectation. What was let me switch gears before we dive deeper into that. What was it like the first year of starting your company? What was that grind like?
Well, I mean, the first year definitely was it was a blur for one. And just learning, trying to learn what works and what sticks. Man, I tell you, it was just learning what works, what sticks. And there's a true difference between being a technologist. And I could have probably easily did a services company because people love me and they would let me help make their network secure or pen tested them and all that stuff. But trying to create a product and sell that product to companies and learning all that stuff, all the legal stuff, and like, it's like going to college, bro. It's like going to get a doctorate. And that's why I always compare the whole startup thing to. And so basically you have to learn how to sell, you gotta learn marketing, you have to learn all this stuff. You have to
is it all at once, or is it like paced out? For instance,
it's all at once.
So one of the things that, you know, I feel is when you went into Mach 37, did you go in with a co-founder or was it by yourself or
I was rare. I was rare. I was solo.
Mhm.
I mean, one of the things that was interesting about that whole situation is as I went into I went into that environment and I built out my product. I had a product that worked. I could demo it when other people was talking about their ideas. I was like showing mine. Here it is right here, and they're like, "Oh snap! This dude already had it built," you know. And so and that's how I got in as a solo founder, because that me being able to code and build that full stack web application and all that stuff, and that's the same thing. And since I sold the company, I've been on the absolute grind coding and leveling up my skills. Because when I started the company back in 2014, the fall of 2014, everything was different. Heroku was really hot for doing Ruby on Rails apps. And since then, everything, you know, EC2 and Azure, it's a whole different vibe.
Yeah, everything has completely changed. So let me ask you, when you were doing it by yourself and coding it up, you know, there's layers to this. It's like an onion peeling back, right? What made you decide to go to an accelerator, and what made you stay there?
Well, I knew I didn't know anything about business.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about any of the business stuff. And so an accelerator is equivalent to kind of like having a co-founder, and you plug into this network of mentors that automatically, I mean, they upgrade your game. Like I didn't know no investors really.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know a lot of business concepts. I mean, I was good at it naturally. I mean, even I have a mentor still that some of these people are still in my life, of course. Some of my investors, some of them are still in my life. I still talk to them, but I'm a natural marketer. I'm good at that. You know, and funny enough, I didn't know that, but you know, some people are pointing out you're good at marketing. When I was in Maryland, I was doing Dojo Set. You know, good brand, good, you know, everything. It was popping. You remember that? And so that's sometimes you're naturally good at stuff. And so what business is all about is finding out what you're good at, realizing what you're good at, and then filling in the gaps where you have no clue. Mm-hmm. So an accelerator for me was filling in the gaps. I didn't know about sales. I didn't know the legal stuff. I didn't know lawyers and all that. I know lawyers will work for you for free, pretty much, you know. And like it's just all this stuff about business that I did not know. And now that I know it, and now that I was able to sell a company, it's a whole different situation. I'm like, it's like getting it's like getting a doctor.
Yeah.
And so it's like learning, studying, and then you know, selling the company was the capstone project.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough.
What did it take for you to get the first big client, and how much effort did that really take?
The first big client was that we got was a government customer, and that government customer, funny enough, I had a relationship with. Sales is all about relationships, and any good salesperson knows that. And so that's why salespeople wine and dine and take people out to eat, and you're trying to build rapport, and you do business with people that you have rapport with. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. It's all, I mean, business is relationships. And, you know, I'll take care of you. You know, we have to keep the lights on, so we need a payment. So, but we're going to keep you secure, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, and it's about relationships. And that's why I'm saying, like, some people manage to be jerks and somehow still win or appear to be winning. And I'm like, how do they do that? It's like, it's amazing to me. I'm like, but eventually everything catches up with you. So I'm like, you know, relationships is what business is about. And like I said, I had relationships, and you continuously build relationships with people, and the people that you can, you know, you build relationships with, they trust you. It's just like marriage and getting married, or you know, or whatnot. It's like you gotta have that trust, and you're going to provide what your partner needs, and that's what business is.
Yeah, it's funny. I think one of the things that building a business, obviously we're right now doing COVID, so I doubt Black Hat is going to have their event. But one of my proudest moments is seeing one of my friends on the floor of Black Hat, or was it RSA? I'm not.
It was both of them.
It was both. It was both. But
You talking about me?
I think the first time I think I seen you was at Black Hat, and you were in the the back of Black Hat, and I seen you and you were talking to a customer, and I was gonna go up and say hi, and I was like, he's in the middle of selling his product. I can't just interrupt to say what's up, and it was like a proud moment as a friend to see my friend winning. How was that experience for not only those days that you were on the floor, but how hard was it? Because people think it's super easy, but do not see the hard work that goes behind a ship like yours that is very small. I mean, it's not like you have $100 million investment, B, C, D, and all that. And you're buying, and they stick you in the back. I believe, if I could remember, it was the beginning, so it had to be the B or C line, last line in the back. But I seen a customer there, and I was so happy and so proud of you, man.
Yeah, so I mean, it is 100% a grind. I mean, it depends on how you do it, but definitely, I was in it to win it. I was trying to build the biggest company I could, yeah. So I was definitely in it to win it. It was challenging, and all the different adjectives that you could say about doing a business. And one of the reasons, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm kind of back in that grind too. I mean, I'm at a startup now. That we're on the grind, just like Sentinel One's on the grind.
Yeah. What made you sell the company?
Well, basically, I mean, it was just like anything. When you have a business, you have a board, and of course I'm a member of that board. But basically, we thought it was advantageous. And to be honest with you, with COVID and stuff for a small company and all that stuff that came up, it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
To get that done. We sold the company in October, and the COVID situation happened about 5-6 months later. So,
congrats.
It was somewhat a blessing.
That is a blessing.
To be able to pull off that transaction before, stuff happened like that.
What was the hardest you had to deal with those first few years starting up? And what was like your first big deal?
Well, I would say the hardest thing that I have, because I'm kind of a people's person and I want to mentor people and help people out and stuff. And so having to, fire people was challenging for me. And that always was a big deal when that happened. But I mean, the promise I always made with people, like I made a promise that anybody that I deal with or anybody I interact with, I'm going to make them a better person. I'm a good coach. It doesn't matter what the frick it is. I'm actually good at coaching people.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact. One thing I will add on to that, like I said earlier, like maybe you don't want to hear the advice he has to give, but the advice he has to give is the truth that hurts, that you need to interpret and understand. It's coming from a good place. I think a lot of people take constructive criticism and slide it off because they don't want to hear it. And every time we've had a conversation, you've given a recommendation to me. Hey, what you should be doing or you should be thinking of is X, Y, and Z. It's like take that ego and put it aside for right now and understand this is coming from a place of love. And it's hard to distinguish that when you have an ego But when you put that aside and you say, you know what, did I incorporate that into the things that I'm doing, and it's coming from love, you know, and that's what I appreciate. And your tweets really also like say that about you. I've already knew that about you, right? There's things you say that I'm like, I don't know if I would have said that, but it's so authentic, that it's so real, that you have to like really think about, like, that is the reality. That is other people's opinions that you didn't incorporate and that you should. And one of the things that I appreciate about you is that, like, there's no one in the game that comes close with authentic love.
God damn. Hey, I appreciate it, bro.
That is the truth. That is my truth. Like, people might disagree with it.
That's awesome.
But when it comes down to it and you understand where it comes from that, hey, I got love for you, even though I don't know you, but I've been there. I've been in those trenches. You need to understand this is coming from a place that I know. I'm very familiar with. So, switching lanes, you started the Tribe of Hacker series of books, you know, which is basically kind of what we've been talking about, is giving advice from other hackers, you know. And what was the motivation for that?
Well, I mean, so you actually probably way before I did. You know, we have a lot of friends that, like I said, even though we knew each other way back then and we were coming up, I mean, many of our friends have elevated to, you know, prominent positions in the industry and our household names and at least in the security community goes, right? So I can go to a conference and I can have a conversation with those people and I can talk to them and no problem. Where some people will be intimidated to approach those people, right? And so I can just have a conversation with any of those people, right? So one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to give an opportunity to kind of expand on the conversations, because if you look at the questions, those are the conversations we have, and that's the conversation we talking to other people about.
I agree.
So how do you allow anybody to be in a conversation with somebody that's a Ron Gula or Doug Song or you know, those people, and some people are new to the industry, and you know, smart people that you never heard of before, and like I know people like, you know, shout out to my man Ron.
Ronald Eddings.
Ronald Eddings. He was on a previous guest on this podcast.
Yes, sir.
I met Ron when he was 17 years old, and I've seen his growth over time. And people a couple years ago, before he had his podcast, nobody knew who Ronald Eddings was.
That's by the way, Ronald Eddings was the last episode of season 1, and Ronald is my brother. Like, when I tell you he was my brother, and you met him before I did, right? Like, I lived with Ronald for 2 years at Ronald Eddings. That is, I speak to him at least 3 times a week. There's not a lot of, like, there's no words that could describe what Ronald is to me. He is like a little brother that I love, that I want to see win so much.
Yeah,
and
he's winning.
He's winning, and I'm his biggest cheerleader. Right? That's the thing.
We'll compete for the biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, for me, you know, it is. I can't say verbally in words what I feel for Ron, except he's not blood, but he is my family. I've known him since I was at Booz Allen Hamilton, and we both worked there. You know, and by the way,
I introduced you to Ron.
yeah, I agree. So, by the way, thank you for that, and thank you also for letting me be a part of your book series. I
Hey,
appreciate
bro,
that.
it's nothing but love, bro. And
Yeah, I
I'm,
know,
like I
I
said,
know.
I
One
love
thing,
the fact that
yeah, go for it.
it's funny because, like, I mean, people, if you're listening and you're new to the industry,
Hmm.
um, like, you know, like I said, Ron was 17 looking at the CCNA book.
Let him bark.
Oh my
Let
God.
him do his thing. Let that king do what he does.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, be quiet. Shh, be quiet. All right, so people that are out there listening, and I'm telling you, like, I knew Ron and watch his episode because that dude's a beast in the game, in the cybersecurity game. Knew him when he was 17, before any certification. When I met him, he had a CCNA book in his hands.
Hmm.
I met Marco, his brother Kevin, but when they were both young bucks too, just trying to find a way in the cybersecurity community. Me myself, I was begging to be a part of projects with them, and they denied me. So
Yeah, I told this on season 1. There was one thing that stuck out with Ron. I gave him a recommendation on a book to buy. On on a week's like the first time I met him, I was like, yeah, we kicked it, and then I was like, hey, you know, when you have a chance, buy this book, because my mentor just literally told me to buy this book, and I'm like you, where I'm like, hey, I distribute information to help people without any anything in return. The next week he bought the book before I did, and he came back with the book. And you know what I did? I went to the ATM, took out money. I was like, I'm buying that book off of you. You bought it for 40, I'm giving you 60. I need that book. And that kicked off, like, you are real in this industry. Me and you will go ahead and form a relationship. 3 years later, I called him and I said, hey, a week from now, I will call you. Have your resume ready. You're going to be hired at McAfee. When I call you, make sure you're 5 minutes, and like 5 minutes after, you are sending me your resume. That's how it happened. 5 minutes after he sent me his resume, I shipped it up the command line, and he was hired. And I mean, ever since then, we were best friends. Like,
I love it.
that
I
is
love it.
that is the guy that, you know, when I'm 99, I expect him to carry my casket. That's how much I love Ron, and he was on the first season. You know, by the way, you know, just want to give you a shout out and thank you for allowing me to be part of your book series, Tribe of Hackers. You know, one thing that sticks out is how you told your son to start coding and get into the game, and can you please explain what that conversation was like, and how did you get him to fall in love with the game? Because you know, people are really struggling during COVID, and what I'm saying is, like, you know, this cyber game, we're so understaffed, and you, by the snap of your finger, you told them, hey, what was that conversation like?
Well, man, you know, somebody taught me when I was like
Mm-hmm.
19 years old. The key to learning how to program or anything else is finding some angle where you're going to be comfortable with. And the angle that I found with coding, my buddy, shout out to my man Zanny McCray. Zanny, if you see this, holler at me, because I haven't seen this dude in like almost 30 years now. I've seen him like probably close, getting pushing 30.
Wow.
probably about 26 years. I haven't seen this guy. In the Navy, he's like, hey man, it was this database called DBase, and I'm dating myself big time here. So it was a database that you could actually write some code with, and he's like, okay, cool. So I was in charge of this DBase database that they had an inventory of all the classified data that we had on this base. It was an NSA field site, and I was in charge of the database that tracked all software, like classified, like top secret, confidential, secret, all the different levels. I had to track all the disks.
What was the location?
It was in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I met my wife too.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Zanny, like, how do I, basically, I used to have to add stuff to it. It's like I don't know really how to program in DBase or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Zanny's like, hey man, you know how you got on the CDs? Why don't you program something that keep inventory of your CDs? You know, your Wu-Tang Clan, your Snoop Doggy Dogg, your all that stuff, your Redman, and all that. So I was like, okay, cool. So I coded, because I was interested in music. I cataloged my in this same database, because they had like a computer room. So I had access. I had a computer. I had the same software that I had at work in this little barracks, and so I just started learning how to logically do stuff. And so that was the introduction to the databases. And hey, it still rolls in columns to this day.
Yeah.
I was doing Postgres Amazon RDS yesterday. It still rolls in columns. So that's 25 years later. It's the same old thing, right?
Yes, sir.
And so that's so with my son, I when I talk, it's like dash v verbosity. So when my son hated math homework. So back in the day, I was like, all right, cool. You can actually take your homework and you can put it in code. And so we started doing math. We started doing math formulas in Perl back in the day. So like, okay, X equals this, Y equals that. Like, do that formula, but put it in code. And it showed him that you can solve problems with code.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted to be he said, oh, I want to be a video game programmer. It seemed like most kids play video games want to create games.
Yeah.
I said, all right, cool. So me and him, when he was 15, I sat down with him and I did all the front end stuff because I'm kind of artistic too. And he built 5 or 6 iPhone apps and had them in the store. He built the first official Showdown app. My son built the first Showdown app for iOS, and he was 16. He also built the front end for Metasploit, so you could actually connect to the Metasploit API from your iPhone, like a legit Metasploit front end. He built that himself when he was 15, right?
Fire.
So
how did you give him the motivation to, like, did he have his own motivation, or was it like?
No, so man, like with kids, man, like kids want to emulate their father and stuff, and they want to be in. I was in the Cisco, so my son wanted to be in Cisco, and I was in programming and hacking, so he wanted to be in the programming and hacking. And so yeah, man, like somebody's always looking. And so this is another thing, how I try to live my life, is because my kids are looking at me, and like if I'm in the public, people are looking at me too. And so and I think that I have a saying, man, like I want to be a blessing to more people on accident than on purpose. So if people can see me and interact with me, or not even interact with me, and I can be a blessing to them, that's the spot I want to be. And now my son is 25 now. He's 25
and crushing the game.
Yeah, my son is the best developer I know, and alive. I mean, you can bring people talking about Google, Facebook programmers, anybody in Silicon Valley. My son was slaughtered, like straight up.
Facts.
He
won. What was the award he won? I want you to brag. What was the award he won?
What's that?
What was the award that he just got?
Yeah, he won some kind of award. And my son is in Ireland. He works for Rapid 7.
Yeah, he
And
was
he
he
won
was
some
like young
young
under like
technologist in Ireland or something.
yeah, like he's crushing it. And again, I mean that's kudos to you, right? What
Yes.
at the
No,
end of the
dude,
day
like
is
here, like so here's the deal, man. Like I'm just throwing the alleys. I'm just throwing the alley oops, man.
word.
It's like I'm just an assist man. I just throw it up and I let
You're the
everybody else
point
do their
guard.
thing.
What
You know what I'm saying?
advice do you have for new people coming into the industry?
Nothing's magic, you
Mm,
know. Nobody knows everything. Some people, just because you know one subject area, because you're gonna meet people that are really good at one subject area,
mm-hmm.
that don't mean that their knowledge is transfer. It doesn't translate to everything. So if you know incident response, don't mean you know, you don't necessarily know ICS. You don't
Yes.
know reversing. Just because you know reversing, don't mean you know how to set up a firewall.
Mm-hmm.
And just as long as you know cloud, don't mean you know how to be a software engineer and full stack developer. So everything is so micro. But what's cool though is you can make a lot of money in the macro. You can be an expert on one thing and make a boatload of money in this game.
I
Yeah.
concur.
So
I
that's
agree.
and just peel back the on
How how can you
well,
give the citizens out there from HackChat, a shortcut on getting better?
a shortcut on getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that like shortcut on getting better is believe in yourself probably.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in yourself and actually when I say believe in yourself, sometimes you'll learn something
Mm.
and you don't think you really know it. It could be like, man, is it that easy? Like you be like, oh man, all this stuff is magical. And then you're gonna get a chance to do it, and then you're like, man, I don't know if I really know it. Or there might be something that's like, oh, this job that opens up and it says that you need to know this, that, and the third, but I don't really know that. Well, like you probably know way more than you think you know.
Mm-hmm.
So just believe in yourself, and that's gonna once you start believing in yourself and building momentum, uh, it's important to have a good network. So start building the network,
Mm.
start having good feedback mechanisms. Because like sometimes you don't even know your superpower. You have superpowers that you don't even know. Like
I agree.
Superman walked around every day lifting up cars and all this other stuff. It was totally normal to him. Superman needs somebody from the outside to say, "Man, not everybody can do that." You know.
That is true. That is
So
true. I'm,
have a good network that can give you that kind of feedback. No,
you know,
man, everybody can't lift the car, man.
you know, I agree. One of the things that I pride myself when I go to a conference, and I'm not those people that say, "Oh, I'm not going to watch this talk." I look at the schedule. I basically, circle the person's name and what they're talking about and research it, and then create questions for that person. For me, it's important if I'm going to interrupt someone and ask them questions, it's going to be like really thoughtful questions that allow them to think of the answers and say, hey, I did my research. I'm not coming here with, the bull jive and just wanting to be friends. It's like, I want to take away knowledge. So I'm going to give you some, a question that is authentic, that's going to make you think, because it's going to make me better and on the research that I'm doing. So I want you to be the Picasso and paint a picture of what the next 5 years has in store for Marcus Carey.
Also, I mean, the next 5 years, I'm getting up there in age. I'm 46,
Mm-hmm.
so hopefully in 5 years I'll be healthy. And
Sure.
so I'm trying to take care of my health
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that I get another 5, and just continue to be a blessing to people and help more people achieve their goals, and
Yeah.
that's it. Like it's not easy. Like what's crazy though, man. I'm gonna say something, and it's gonna sound crazy to people, man. Like I'm having to like write new goals
Mm.
because when I was young,
Cause are you
I wanted to
crushing
be.
them at a pace that
Well,
can't keep up?
I just never thought I would be where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought. I never thought I would, be able to do what I've done, and it's kind of humbling. Like, man, what do I do now? It's like,
You know,
what am I gonna do now?
it's very funny because I had this conversation with a bunch of childhood friends this week. You know, I'm happy you brought that up because where I grew up at, you know, the expectation level in the Bronx wasn't that high. And to look at to really understand, like 2 blocks from where I grew up at is like the worst projects in the Bronx. So, you know, just to give you context, I went to a elementary school as well as a junior high school and high school, where at high school I went in with 1,000 people that were freshmen and graduated with like 105 people, right? So it gives you a little context of the graduation rates, the dropout rates, and all that. But when I went to college, I really understood how far behind I was, where I was like at a 5th or 6th grade reading level at the junior college where they gave me a scholarship at. And you know, I'm proud of where I'm at today because what I understand now is the hard work that I put in, I feel, for the last 15, 20 years has paid off, which is reading books every day, understanding, elevating myself. And what I'm trying to explain to everyone is that hard work pays off. Be the hardest worker in the room and it will pay off. Trust the process. You know, and when I left college, you know, I started working at Home Depot. On the right of me, I said this before, I have my first check from Home Depot framed to remind myself where I came from. Getting $10.50, not a lot of skills, but understanding where I'm trusting the process, where I have one friend that knew me while we were working there and see me working, and what I said was, this ain't me. I'm not gonna be in the hood because I'm trusting the process. This hard work has to pay off. The hours and hours and hours and SAN certifications that you guys could look up. And when I took them, that I believe incident handling certification and the reverse engineering education back in 2005 and 6 or 6 and 7, it's going to pay off. I know it is. I'm just trusting the process. I can't see my future, but I know if I put in the work and I am where I am, which I spent, I believe, 2 years at Home Depot, I believe this will pay off. So I had my A+, Network Plus, Security Plus. Like, it kept on going because I wanted to prove to these IT departments, because there weren't any security departments at the time, and just said, man, I'm just going to work until they can't deny me no more. You have to hire me because I put in the work.
This is like my man, Steve Martin. Yeah, be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah, I concur with that. Like,
good.
I put in the work. I was like, I don't want to be in the hood. I don't want to live in the hood anymore. I see a future in this industry that goes back to my childhood when we're doing, you know, the fielding of ground balls, the shooting of basketball. That same work transfers. And
100%, bro.
yeah,
100%.
and I said to myself, I'm gonna keep on going on. I don't want to be here. I don't want to live in a hood. You know, just to take a step back to get the listeners to understand where I come from. You know, in 2019, my mom had, early 2019, she had a horrific accident, which I had to move back to the Bronx, to where I was born and raised, to take care of her. Now, this is a story about hood, because I had to go to the store and I had to get like the usual groceries of milk and bread and all that. And when I was walking there, see, what people don't understand is when you're walking to the grocery store in that location, if someone's looking at you and you look down, you're prey. So I had to look at him, walk to the store, give him a dap like, I see you. We could tussle, or we cannot. But I'm walking to get my bread and milk and all that, and I'm gonna do that. Like, let's good. If I look down when he looked at me, I'm prey. So this is the language.
New York, man.
This is the body language you must understand when you live in these neighborhoods. So I understood what I needed to do. I was like, yo, I got you. I'm ready. Right?
You know,
He looked at me, gave me the nod to go ahead, and I got my bread and milk. But you must understand, you look down when you're looking, that is a situation. Basically, you're going to get got. So this is a language that you speak. It's no words. It's just verbal communication. Are you prey or are you a shark? And this is what it is.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I got my milk and everything. And when I got out the store, I gave him my little nod, like, I got you. I see what you're doing. So, you know, it is something that I live with and understand. I respect people that live there, that have to live there, but there is a way out. And I am grateful to this game and understand that this game has given me an outlet to get out of that environment, to establish my mother that now lives with me. I'm a caregiver and I'm proud of it. You know, she's given me so much, and it's my turn to go ahead and give her what she needs. And you know, anyone that is down and out, you're really not down and out if you bet on yourself. Bet on yourself 99% of the time. When your mind goes left, go right. And if your mind goes right, you're going to get to your destination, you know. And for me, I appreciate, you know, Marcus, you are an inspiration to this community. And you laugh, but your tweets for not only minorities, not only people across the globe. I had someone reach out for me from Ivory Coast, and I was like, whoa, impact. And I said, you have all my dedication, whatever you need. Because if I'm reaching out that far and I'm making an impact over there, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're in Ivory Coast, London, Australia, the Bronx, Texas. It's about taking yourself to a new level. There's no limits to what I feel that you put on yourself. And going back to what I said, if Mark Zuckerberg did it, why not you? Why not me? And I told you before we started recording, this was going to be the realest.
No, bro.
This one's going to be one of the best that will impact people in the future. And I will always come back to it and say, watch the entirety.
Yeah, so, man, I think you're right, man. Like, definitely, you know, I think that people, you know, what's funny is like you said, like, by default, I want to help everybody out. And I know because I'm black that there are going to be definitely black people and minority people they gravitate towards me because
Mhm.
they relate to me, right?
Yeah.
Just like Gary Vee is a Russian immigrant. There's gonna be Russian immigrants that they like him. There's gonna be Puerto Rican people from the Bronx that love you, Margot. So basically, but that's what I mean. From a human perspective, I want to help anybody.
You know,
Because,
I say the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of Latinos come up to me, a lot, and I said it's who you can. It's a human thing.
Yep.
It's not a Latino. It's not a black. It's not a white. It's people that don't have the opportunity to help them get the opportunity and say, I believe in you. Go do it. Go do it. You don't need permission. There's no need.
I mean, like, bro, if I waited for permission, I wouldn't do anything. I mean, many of the things that I do, it's a lot of no's. It's a lot of no's.
So here's the thing. This is a key takeaway. Are you used to no's? Because I am. And how I've gotten over, and I recommend people to get over no's, is go to your Starbucks. When you order your latte or your nitro, ask for a discount. Go ask for a discount every single time. Can I get a 10% discount? The lady's going to say, why? It's up to you to find the excuse. It's my birthday. I'm feeling lucky. It's Monday. I'm just looking jiggy. It's up to you. And what happens is, you will get your no's and you will get your yeses. And what happens is it allows you to accept no. People don't like to feel that rejection. I'm okay with rejection. I'm okay. I'm on my next one.
What I like about what you said, Marco, is this is the importance of experiments and things of that nature. I read a negotiation book a long time ago. I think the name of the book might have been Negotiation Boot Camp or something of that nature. So basically, the book had me feeling like I can negotiate anything. Funny enough, the guy was from the Bronx that wrote the book, and he told the story. He said, crazy enough, he said I had to negotiate my way home every day because the Bronx was that tough.
Listen,
so he said the Bronx made him an expert negotiator.
I'm going to explain to you right now. I was having this conversation yesterday. We were talking about the Bronx. Yesterday, I was talking about the Bronx. And one of my friends lived in Webster. And I told him, dude, in Webster was a no-fly zone. I love to travel on the train Monday through Friday because I could take the express that flew through Webster. When you move through Webster, it was a look left and right for danger. Hunts Point was a place that listen, when I tell you, for the people out there, I got held up at Webster. I got held up where I lived on the corner of my block at gunpoint. Now, luckily, I ran away and his gun jammed, and that's a conversation for another one, another day. His gun jammed, and I booked it. Many people don't know this, but this is the life you live when you live in a area that isn't the best. I feel like I had the greatest parents, and I am blessed. I am who I am because of their work ethic and what they gave me. But when you are outside of your environment and understand what you deal with, it is what it is. You must be attuned with that environment. And I have a friend, and this is a shout out to where I lived at. I have a friend that works for Google, and I told him, bro, when right before COVID, he would get out of work and walk because the bus would be too slow. And I would say, bro, you wear good sneakers, you're going to get jacked at Chatterton. This is right on the Bruckner. Leandro, he still lives there. once COVID is lifted and you got to go back to work, those same dangers will be there. And I told him, I said, I understand his commitment to his family, but I said, you wear sneakers that will put you in danger. Sneakers that will get you shot for them to take sneakers. And this is the danger that people don't understand.
Yeah, totally. And just to, like, I'm going to finish that point I was making about experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't get because you're not asking for it. And like, even like when it comes to people not sending their resumes into companies and things of that nature, or not asking for discounts or training and all that, there's always discounts and things of that nature. You got to ask. And also, oh, my resume is not good, I'm not going to send it. Send it in anyway. You'll get rejected, so what? And
Exactly.
you might get a call back. You never know. And so my buddy, shout out to my man CJ in Maryland, he used to say, he was a negotiator, and he made me, after I read that book, he says there's two prices in the world. There's what everybody else pay, and there's what CJ pays. So he's like, I'm not paying full price for nothing. And so for about a couple of months, I negotiated everything everywhere I went, bro.
I agree.
I was in Around the Mills Mall. I would go
everywhere.
Hey, can I get 20% off? Can I get a discount?
Why?
And it was always an angle.
Yeah.
Oh, you can get it. Oh, can I speak to your manager?
Absolutely.
And sometimes I'll get people be pissed. I got into arguments and stuff. I'm like, bro, why are you arguing? I'm just asking for a discount.
Look, I completely agree with your boy, because at the end of the day, I'm buying a product. I want a discount. Why? Because the upsell. If I'm spending my money here, I want a discount. I'm spending money, and why not ask? And why not haggle? Right? And it's the same thing with negotiating salary. It's one of those things where, man, it is a point that needs to be had.
Yeah, 100%, and it can be done.
Yeah,
man, all of it. Y'all can do it. Y'all can negotiate. Y'all can get what y'all want.
What does the game mean to you, and how has it changed your life?
Like I said, man, pretty much all the goals that I had in life on education, most people consider, probably look at me and say, "Oh, this dude's successful." So I've done everything I kind of wanted to do, but here's the deal. So now, how can I do it on a bigger level? I'm at a different, I'm at a different point in my life, and so now I'm just learning what I can do. Okay, now what can you do? I'm kind of like at a different, space in life, where it's just weird, man, because like, so much you hear about, like, the life expectancy of people like me, or where I'm from, or I'm from a small town, super poor. My mom used to get $300 a month in food stamps when I was growing up. Only when you look in the fridge, there was no food in there. It was just it was just baking soda and water.
You're playing with house's money now. Look at you with pictures of Biggie and all those nice replicas of things. And
that's Thanos for me. That's Thanos with the Biggie crown on.
Well, I'm looking at Biggie. The light is not there. I'm calling him Biggie. Don't ever wear a crown like that.
That's my man Thanos. Hey, Biggie was the rap Thanos, though. He was the best rapper ever.
I agree. I mean, for me, like, we could go into rap, but going back, and I digress to what you were saying, it is about that grind, man. And for me, I like, especially with Hack Chat, I love doing this because I get to peek into the background, the insight, the passion someone has. It doesn't matter if where you're from, this game is the same. It's like, you got to understand the skill sets. You will pierce the the shield to get into the game, and I felt like I had the opportunity, and once I tasted it, I said, I'm in. You ain't denying me. I'm in. That's it, because I knew that I was the hardest worker in the room, and you know, it's even where I'm at now, I feel like, okay, there's another level to this game, because at a startup, you know, even if we hit unicorn, it's a different speed than what I'm used to. So now I need to adjust, and you're constantly adjusting, whether it's a day, a month, a year. You're building yourself to play on that next level. And what I find, at least for myself, is I want to play on that next level. I want to do those other things, and I want to understand different mindsets. And when I talk to you, it's always the same thing. It's elevation, it's love, it's being authentic, helping people. And I just feel, man, you're like a really good dude. Like, forget your next career. I'm gonna tell you your next career. It is motivational speaking. Yep. It is. After cyber, it's motivational speaking. You know, and I feel that because what you've accomplished and done will inspire millions in the future. And as long as you have that voice and you could continue to be authentic, it will always be there, man. And
Appreciate that.
you know, I always have my notification on when you tweet, because I always expect jewels that will be dropped.
Appreciate it, bro.
And I love everything you've done over the last, man, I want to say 6 to 8 years has been not only influential to the community, but to the people that don't think they can do it. You know, and that's important. So, Marcus Carey, thank you. This actually has been the longest hack chat that I've done, because
Hey,
it's
man,
been
hey,
so
I appreciate
interactive.
you for having me. Hey, thanks for all the love, and definitely when I think of you, and I think of Ron, like I said, because I mean, heck, I know you from day one, essentially, right? So
Yes, sir.
And I do you, I think you guys, and I'm like, man, you know, you kind of like we put in a lot of work, we done a lot of hours, we read a lot, we do all these different things, and I think that it's a repeatable process. And that's why I've helped a lot of people get into the game and start having careers and all that stuff, because it is a repeatable process. It's not no secret sauce, and you know, I hate to, some people say, well, I over exaggerate, but I think anybody can get in this game.
Yes,
Anybody
sir.
can be in this game.
I agree. And I think what differentiates everyone is, are you willing to work hard or are you not? And when it gets difficult, are you willing to push through and build that callus of saying, okay, I'm willing. When it gets hard, F off. I'm going hard body. And that's how you win. That's how you win. Building that callus of saying, I don't understand this, but I'm gonna go so deep and I'm gonna Google fool my way to understanding whatever topic it is. So, as I said, Marcus Carey, here are your flowers. I haven't said that on any of the hack chat.
This is my dude. Thanks.
But it's so authentic, and there's so much love going your way, man. I know it's not only me. You know, so many people, when they see this, they will understand. And this, when it's released, will impact people. And that's what I was hoping. That's what I thought about this conversation that we were going to have.
Thanks.
Is the people that don't think they can and that don't think they have the resources will take this episode and run with it. Because if you did it and I did it, we're a testament that it could be done. And it's
100%.
love.
Absolutely.
It's love.
Thanks
So-
for having me, bro. Thanks.
Marcus, thank you. Everyone out there, citizens of Hack Chat, we'll see you next time.